Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, as we are counting down until the 2023 Daytona 500, we are 85 days away. We've been working on the topic videos, NASCAR topic videos, and the champion profile and the few driver profile. So this topic is NASCAR by the era and doing the Grand National era. So if you look at the beginning of NASCAR, 74 years ago, 1949 was the first season. That was a strictly stock was the name of it. In 1950, they changed to the Grand National. So 1950 through 1970, 21 seasons, it was NASCAR Grand National. In the 1971 through 2003, we were the Winston Cup era. And then the Chase era began in 2004 through 2015. And in 2016, we began the playoff era. Well, in 2017, we went ahead, NASCAR added stage racing. So I would consider stage racing / playoff as an era. So starting in 2017, because stage racing changed the sport. To me, dramatically, it changed the crew chief's thought process. It changed a lot of the strategy because it's around the stages. Do you pit early and shortcut the stage? And then when everybody pits, you go up front. I think that changed the ball game. So in my eyes, there are 6 different eras in NASCAR. This one is the Grand National era, which was the 21 seasons, 1950 through 1970. Now, there's already some videos up on Robert Sports Show. Generation 1 car, 1948 through 1964. The Gen 2 car, 1965 through 1980. And then we have the decade of the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Those are all up on Robert Sports Show, kind of breaking down little pieces of it. It's kind of neat going back and doing research of the different eras, the different cars, generations, and kind of by the decade, kind of seeing a different view of a lot of the stats. So there in this Grand National era, there was 987 races. This is one of the biggest eras. Without doing the math yet, it may be more races than the Winston Cup era. Because we've had as low as the first 1950 was like 17 races or 16 races. But from 51 on, the lowest amount of races was 34, which is 1952, I believe it was. 52 they had 34 races. In 1964 there was 62 races. We've landed on a 36 race schedule since 36 races since 2001, which is the most races NASCAR ran in the season since 1971, and there was 48. Now there is a topic up on Robert Sports Show, the aggressive scheduling, the first video of the off season. I kind of fantasy booked a NASCAR Cup Series schedule with 40 dates. You might want to check that out. I think some good stuff. I'm actually working on a new one of having NASCAR, not just NASCAR Cup Series, mind you, but NASCAR 12 months a year. Between the ARCA Menards Series West, the ARCA Menards Series, the ARCA Menards Series East, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then obviously the big boy NASCAR Cup Series. So that'll be a topic coming up soon. We'll be working on first of the year. That's actually got a lot of work I want to do on it, so that'll be fun. But this one here, the Grand National era, 987 races, 2,079 different drivers. 1,238 of those drivers made 2 or more starts, 662 5 or more, 396 10 or more, 113 50 or more starts, 70 made 100 or more starts, 27 guys have made 200 or more starts in that era, 12 drivers 300 or more starts, 6 drivers 400 or more starts. There was 103 different winners in that 21 seasons. 63 drivers won 2 or more races. 33 drivers won 5 or more races, 24 10 or more, 16 20 or more, 10 30 or more, and 7 40 or more. The most starts of the era was Buck Baker, 613, Richard Petty, 519, Wendell Scott, 449, Lee Petty, 421, Jim Pasquale, 413, Neil Castles, 407, Elmo Langley, 360, Ned Jarrett, 352, David Pearson, 351, G.C. Spencer, 347. Now, for those NASCAR fans who may be relatively new to the sport, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel here or follow me on Twitter at Rob Sports Show. Some of these names sound kind of familiar, but maybe they're not familiar. Buck Baker, the father of Buddy Baker, he raced in the 80s and early 90s, was an announcer after that. Richard Petty, we all know Richard Petty's name. His son Kyle Petty, his dad Lee Petty. Elmo Langley actually used to be a pace car driver. He actually passed away during, I think it was 96 or 97, when NASCAR Cup Series went to Suzuki, Japan. He actually passed away over there. Ned Jarrett, yep, Dale Jarrett's dad. David Pearson, his son Larry Pearson, the two-time NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. In wins in this era, Richard Petty, 119. David Pearson, 58. Lee Petty, 53. The next 6 drivers, the wins they had in this era are their actual career wins totals. Lee Petty, Gina Johnson, both with 50. Herb Thomas, 48. Buck Baker, 46. Tim Flock, 39. Fireball Roberts, 33. Those are their actual career wins as well. Bobby Isaac, 32. Now, again, fans that are new to the sport, Junior Johnson, no relation to Jimmy Johnson. Junior Johnson was a driver back in the early days, 50s, 60s, and in the 70s. He was a car owner in the 60s, 70s, 80s, up into the almost 90. The number 11 Budweiser he owned for Darrell Waltrip. The number 88 Gatorade car was his as well at one time. No, wait. The number 11 for Kale, 77, 76, 77, and 78, when Kale won 3 straight championships. That was the Junior Johnson number 11. And then Darrell and the number 11 Mountain Dew car, and then number 11 Budweiser. And then the 12 with Neil Bonnet, Cyril Marlin, and other drivers after that, Bill Elliott, etc. He won the 90. He finished second in the 92 championship to Alan Quickie. That was Junior Johnson, number 11 Budweiser. Podium finishes. This is not really a stat that's talked about in NASCAR. It's a lot of the IndyCar open wheel guys. Podium is first, second, or third. So for this era, Richard Petty had 255 times he finished first, second, or third. Had 119 wins and 519 starts. What domination Richard Petty had back in the day. Buck Baker, 154 podium finishes. Lee Petty, 151. David Pearson, 146. Ned Jarrett, 126. Herb Thomas, 92. Junior Johnson, 91. Jim Pasquale, 88. Rex White, 86. Bobby Isaac, 78. Now, those 21 seasons, we had 11 different champions. You can actually find champion profiles on Robert Sports Show for all of these drivers. David Pearson, he had 3 championships in that era. Lee Petty, 3. Herb Thomas, Buck Baker, Ned Jarrett, Joe Weatherly, Richard Petty, all with 2. Bill Rexford, Rex White, and Bobby Isaac, each with 1. Again, if you look at the playlist, champion profile, they're all going to be there. I've done all these champion profiles, which was a lot of fun, to be honest with you. I was never a real historian of the sport, honestly, until I watched Lost Speedways with Dale Jarrett and Matthew Dillner. And then that kind of got me interested in the history of the sport, and it really made me want to do these last off-season, look at these videos up and stuff. Polls is another one that I don't really talk about a lot in here, but hearing some drivers back in the day talk about the fact that you go out there and win a pole, it meant a lot to a lot of the drivers, because that means for that day you were the fastest guy on the property. In this era, Richard Petty had 91 poles. David Pearson, 55. Junior Johnson, 46. Buck Baker, 45. Tim Flock, 39. All right, as we are counting down 85 days until Daytona, this topic was the NASCAR by the era, the Grand National era. The Winston Cup era is when we got notoriety, Cup Series did. We got Winston's money behind it. In 79, the flag-to-flag coverage of the Daytona 500. And just this era here, the Grand National era, was more, you had more owner-drivers, you had more, the drivers worked on the car. It was, for some of these guys, just a part-time weekend thing. It wasn't a full-time job like it is today. But some of these guys, like the Lee Petty is one of the first ones, this is my job regardless what happens. This is what we're putting food on the table. This is how we're going to raise our kids. Richard did the same thing. Richard Petty, in his interview with Dave Moody on NASCAR Legend Series on Speedway, he told his wife Linda when they got married, racing is first. If you do really good, you might be second. And they were married 50-some years till she passed. So that's just how these racers thought. All right. Well, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show. Make sure you check out the next 84 days because we're going to have a ton of history of NASCAR on the channel. As always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show. And don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.